So for the last 3 months, I've been using TONEX as my main guitar amp, and I want to share how I found it during that time, the good and the bad, to help you decide whether or not it's right for you. Now, I've actually used TONEX on and off for a few years as part of my setup, but I did get sent this copy of TONEX MAX for free to review. But as with anything else on this channel, no one tells me what to do or say. Everything here is just 100% my experience with it. Now, unlike a traditional amp simulator that's designed to replicate how a guitar amp processes a guitar signal, TONEX is slightly different. It's an amp modeler, which basically creates different models based off of real recordings of real amps, and then it analyzes them to create a profile. Think of it like a digital fingerprint that's then applied to your guitar signal. So the idea is that TONEX has a more natural, realistic sound, but with a couple of limitations that we'll look at in a bit. Of course, the most important part is how it sounds, and there's two parts that I want to pick up on: the sound quality of the captures and the range of sounds available. So TONEX MAX, which is the premium version and the one that I'm using, has about 1,000 amp profiles and about 250 pedal profiles as well. Now that's a lot of sounds. Basically everything that I've tried to find, I've been able to find, from super clean stuff to all out square wave fuzz, and plenty of room in between as well. And because these are captures of real amps at different settings, even two clean versions of the same amp will sound slightly different. So even though it doesn't work like a traditional amp sim where you fully build your own sound, there's a decent chance that you're going to be able to find a capture from the amp that works for you. I found that swapping out the cab for a virtual cab as well can bring a lot of life to a profile and gives a lot of versatility to your sound. Now, if you find yourself lacking a particular sound, there's a few options that you can do to expand your library. There's TONEX expansion packs that you can either buy on their site or in the software. You can import supported third-party models like I've done with the JHS amp packs. And then there's ToneNet, which is a whole library of user-generated captures. And to me, it's one of the best features of TONEX, but I'll get more into that in a minute. Now, I haven't gone through all the different models in TONEX. As I said, there's just over 1,000 amps in this pack. But what I have used, I've been very impressed with the overall sound quality from them. I found that the models feel really responsive to my guitar playing and my dynamics. It doesn't feel like I'm playing through a computer. It actually feels very responsive, like an amp would be. I've also not noticed any latency or lag when using it as well, because it's a fairly lightweight app, which is really good. And switching between the models is instant as well, so there's no loading time, so you don't have to wait for anything. Also, the built-in effects are pretty simple, but they sound good and they're easy to use. But there's a couple of limitations. Firstly, you can only use one version of an effect per category, so I couldn't have two modulation effects like a chorus and a tremolo. I'd have to pick between one or the other. Secondly, while you can move effects before or after the amp, which is really good, they're always in the same order, so it's always modulation into delay into reverb. You can't mix those around, which is a little bit limiting. Now, similarly, something that I've noticed is that TONEX only processes a mono signal. So if you've got a stereo pedal in front of it, it's going to squash it down into mono, so it's not going to sound as full. Now, these are fairly small limitations in the grand scheme of things, but it just makes TONEX a little bit less powerful than it could be for me. I've also found that there's a couple of captures that sound a little bit muddy to me, usually the high gain ones, but they can usually be fixed by swapping the cab to a VIR. One of the features that has really impressed me, as I said earlier, is ToneNet, which is that user-generated library of amps. So if you can't find a particular sound, you can just search for it and then download it. And that idea, like growing up, that you could download an amp, that would blow my mind. And I've been really impressed with how easy it is to just trial sound. You don't even have to fully commit to downloading anything. You just click it, it takes a second to buffer, and then you can try it out. It's also all done inside the app, so you don't have to download it, then install it, and then find it and that kind of thing. It's just really convenient, downloaded, right there ready to use. Also, if you've got your own gear that you want to capture and profile, you can do that using the TONEX modeler that comes with the software. I've not actually done that myself or used it, but it is something that I'm interested in trying in the future. Now, design-wise, it does look a little bit busy when you open it up, and that might be a bit off-putting if you're a beginner, but it does make sense the more that you use it. So we've got our current amp model that we've selected in the middle. We've got all the amp models that we can choose from listed below, and we've got the signal chain running across the top. On the left, we've got the filters that help us find everything, and you can switch between looking for amp models or presets. And finally, at the bottom, there's some useful utility options like input and output volumes, BPM, a tuner, and a demo section as well that's kind of handy for trialing out different sounds. I found that dialing in the amp sounds was really easy and straightforward because there's that familiar amp style layout, and there's an advanced menu as well that helps you tweak a couple of different options to help you fine tune your tone. Likewise, the signal chain and effects rack is laid out really simply at the top, so it's really easy to add, remove, and dial in different sounds. The biggest thing for me is that there isn't a lot of menu diving. Everything's just kind of up front and there, which is really useful, especially if you're a beginner, because guitar software can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming. That being said, the simplicity of it means that there aren't any options for more complex signal routing, which I think does hold it back compared to some other software. Now, the filters are really useful at finding specific sounds, but I would definitely recommend a quick skim of the manual to see what some of the options mean, because it did take me a little while to figure out. One thing that I really think is missing is I can't see what specific amp models I have in a single list. For example, I can't just see all the JCM 800 captures that I've got. I have to search for it in the library. It's a really simple feature that they could add that I think would make it a lot easier to use. Other than that, there's a couple of design choices that really don't work for me. The main one being the interface for the virtual cabs and mic placement, especially when you compare it to IK Multimedia's other amp sim, Amplitude, which has a really intuitive UI. That and a minor one, which is these black bars around the side in full screen mode, which makes it feel a little bit dated. So how does it stack up to the competition and what else is out there on the market? Well, the version that I use, TONEX MAX, is $299, and as I said, that comes with about 1000 amp profiles and about 250 pedal captures as well. And there are different tiers available as well, different levels of software that come with different amounts of captures that you can use. Now, in terms of comparable software, the closest thing that I could find is the Neural Amp Modeler, which is a free, fully open source software modeler. And while it doesn't come with its own built-in library of captures like TONEX does, it also doesn't have a limit on the ones that you can import like it does in the free version of TONEX. The trade-off is that it's a lot more community driven, so you're dependent on other people's captures, which can be a little bit hit or miss sometimes. Also, there's limited support for third-party captures from other companies because the file type has to be .NAM, so again, it's a little bit more limited. Then there's the more traditional amp sims like Amplitude, Guitar Rig, Neural DSP, Helix Native, that kind of thing, which all have more complex and advanced signal routing capabilities, but again, you're more limited with them because you're stuck with just the models that they come with. And they can be fairly pricey as well, especially Neural DSP, where you buy an amp model at a time, and they can be like $100 or so. Not to say that they're not good, because they do sound good, but that's just something to consider. So I do think that TONEX is priced quite well considering the sound quality and the versatility of it, and it has those different price levels depending on your budget, which is really good. But there are different options available depending if you want something that's fully open source and free, or if you want something that's a bit more complex with a bit more advanced features, especially with the signal routing. I have noticed that TONEX does go on sale sometimes throughout the year, so if you're quite price sensitive, just keep an eye out and you might get a deal. So overall, I'd say that I do really like TONEX. I think the sound quality is great of the models, and I think the range is really, really good as well. There's plenty to dive into, especially considering the price. Being able to swap out cabs and effects and bring in third-party captures, especially from the user-generated ToneNet, makes it a really good tool for studio and home use. Although the lack of complex signal routing, I think, does stop it from being an all-in-one solution. My biggest complaint though is the interface. There's a bit of a learning curve to learn how to get around, and it can feel a little bit clunky until you're used to it. Likewise, the search function, while it's very powerful, it could be improved with a few simple changes. Likewise, the UI for the cabinets, I really don't like it. It's not intuitive at all. So if they just imported what they've got going on with Amplitude, that would be great. That would make it perfect in my opinion. But even just a couple of well-placed tweaks to the overall UI would go a long way in improving it for me. But overall, I'm more than happy to recommend TONEX to people. I think it is a really, really good product, especially if you're looking for that wide breadth of amp captures. If you want to give it a go for yourself, I've linked to the free one in the description down below. That's TONEX CS. And that comes with quite a few good captures straight out the box that you can try. As always, thank you for watching. I really hope that you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one.